We all know and love our pets. However, there's a lot more behind just why man's best friend is what it is today, the process of domestication. In this documentary, we'll be looking into domestication, particularly the effect it has on the food chain. Before we investigate domestication, let us define what domestication is. As National Geographic states, domestication is the process of adapting wild plants and animals for human use. Domesticated plants and animals must be raised and cared for by humans. These domesticated animals are found throughout the world, even in the Houston area.
We live in Texas, and so livestock is a thing here, right? And in terms of livestock, we use them for, like I said, food.
What exactly causes domestication is somewhat controversial, as many begin to question if zoos, especially ones like SeaWorld, are responsible.
So yes, that's like an age-old debate in our society, is like the zoos and people that are anti-zoo or anti-SeaWorld and releasing these organisms back into the wild. And they talk about, well, is that actually beneficial to the organism or is that cruel to the organism? Because they've relied on humans for so long, they've lost, some of them haven't even ever had the natural instinct to hunt and scavenge for food because they were born in captivity.
So now that we have some understanding of domestication, let's look at the effects of it, especially those that occur within the food chain. Unfortunately, domestication causes a mostly negative result. This is seen largely in biodiversity, or the loss thereof.
So anytime we take an animal out of the food web or the food chain, it's going to affect it somehow, whether it's negative or positive. In most cases, it's negative because some type of predator is losing its prey, its food source, right? Its energy source. So that energy is taken out of the pyramid. And then the population control of that animal that was whatever it was consuming in that food web is now suddenly, it's lost that population control. And so it can overproduce exponentially. If it doesn't have another predator or prey in that situation, then yeah, it's always going to have an effect on the ecosystem.
When it comes to solving this loss of biodiversity, there isn't much to be done. However, some still try. According to an interview we held with the Houston Zoo Conservation Education Team, one of these ways is through veganism. Consuming less animal products is a popular action that many take to do their part on an individual basis. For example, Meatless Mondays. But it will take many more, especially the large food industries, to get on board in order to make a much bigger impact. Though people try, and even with the support of large food industries, it's unlikely that real change can be made. Similarly, another major impact of domestication is the act of releasing pets or other domesticated animals into the wild.
So that's something we see hugely here in our area, especially in all the bayous. It's called aquarium dumping. What happens is when you buy those animals and the fish and other things from the pet stores, they're not local organisms. Putting them into our own ecosystems here makes them suddenly actually invasive species. They're invasive because they don't have any natural predators here. So they eat everything around them and they produce and start eating all this other stuff and killing off that ecosystem. And we have that actually here. We found apple snails over in the reservoir right by B building, and those are from South America. They are not local to here, and they are super invasive, but we're seeing them more and more in our area because of that aquarium dumping that's happening.
Besides all the negatives, there are some positives to domestication. For example, domestication can prevent extinction within zoo or rehabilitation facilities.
We're not likely to just let them die off. We're going to be intervening and helping them survive, whether that's helping take care of if they're sick or helping them reproduce if they're having trouble doing that. So I think definitely over time it is helpful in preventing the absolute extinction of an organism.
Domestication gives us humans a positive as well.
In terms of humans, in the next 40 years of my life, it's a positive because I'll have all the foods and things that I will need to survive, and I won't have to go hunt, gather, or forage.
This isn't limited to us, as in certain situations, domestication can help the ecosystem.
Well, the positive could be, if we did have, let's say, whatever that domesticated animal was overproducing for whatever reason, an overpopulation of something in an ecosystem is always going to affect it. So taking that animal and domesticating it can have a positive effect on the ecosystem you removed it from.
However, just because there is an environmental positive doesn't mean that it's not also a negative to the food chain as a whole. Overall, domestication is collectively a negative issue when it comes to the food chain. Through loss in biodiversity, havoc wreaked by invasive pets, and damage to the food chain, domestication is ultimately harmful.
However, this doesn't mean that we as humans should stop trying to solve the issues of domestication. Through Meatless Mondays, coming together with large food distributors and industries, and whatever individual work you can do, we can help lessen the effects of domestication altogether and form a happier, healthier ecosystem.